All right. What is up, everybody? Welcome to the Cubs Live podcast. I am your host, the founder of Cubs Live, Kyle Malzhan, alongside here with two of my writers for my website. We got Ryan Melson and Mark Talarico. How's it going, my guys?
Fellas, how can you not love the opening week of baseball?
I know. Mark, how's it going for you, my man?
It's great. I'm just ready to get this thing started.
I know. Well, spring training, like we said, has ended, and the long-awaited offseason is coming to a close. You know, opening day now is 2 short days away, and I couldn't be more excited, like we just said, for what 2018 may entail for the Cubs. You know, they open up in Miami on Thursday, ESPN baseball, 11:40 in the morning. So it's an early one. Rise, shine, brush your teeth, get some coffee, and Cubs baseball all day. So the Cubs have Jon Lester getting his second opening day nod for Chicago. He'll face a guy, Jose Urena, and a Marlins team in the big offseason was kind of centered around Miami and what Derek Jeter is doing since joining the front office. You know, he lets go of Stanton, Yelich, Ozuna, and boys, those are big bats right there for any lineup in the MLB. So the Marlins are in full rebuild mode, and the Cubs start off with a 4-game series versus them, which Lester, Hendricks, Darvish, and Quintana will start. Ryan, I got to ask you, we know how good those 4 guys that I just mentioned are. So what's your outlook on, you know, how they match up in this series pitching-wise versus the Marlins, and kind of talk about that?
Sure. So the Marlins pitching, so starting with Jose Urena on opening day, Urena was decent last season for the Marlins. He posted a 3.82 ERA over 169 innings. Nice, by the way. Urena, he's not really a strikeout pitcher, and he has his fair share of walks. So I think if the Cubs are patient there, which I think they will be, they will likely knock him out pretty early in the game, I bet. I could see Urena being out of there by the 4th inning. The Game 2 starter is lefty Caleb Smith. He's intriguing. They got him from the Yankees. He only pitched 18 innings in the pros and had pretty bad results, but it's a small sample size. He spent 5 years in the Yankees minor league system, and he pitched very well throughout his entire minor league career. This is no bearing how he performed during the season. He was horrid this spring with a 5.21 ERA, but he will strike out hitters. He doesn't issue too many free passes. The Cubs should be pretty aggressive against Smith. The Game 3 starter is this guy Despaigne. He's kind of been all over from San Diego to Baltimore to Miami. He's had bad results at each stop. I expect the Cubs to hammer him Game 3 on Saturday. And then Game 4 right now is named Dylan Peters, the starter for Miami. He's a left-handed pitcher. He's intriguing because he's dominated in the minor leagues. He strikes out hitters at pretty good clips and doesn't really walk people either. He throws strikes. He's not overwhelming, kind of similar to Kyle Hendricks from the left side, and he hits the spots very nicely. But overall, this staff is not good for the Marlins. I expect the Cubs to be hitting quite early and often against these guys.
Yeah, I mean, the theme around the Marlins we keep on saying is that they're a very young team entering a full rebuild mode. You know, they got rid of some of the top hitters in the league with Yelich and Stanton gone, and those are guys who can change any lineup. So, Mark, I got to ask you, any comments about the lineup or the staff, how we're looking? Talk to me about that a little bit.
Well, I'm happy, obviously, that we don't have to go against Christian Yelich, Marcell Ozuna, or Giancarlo Stanton, and also D. Gordon. D. Gordon's gone. He was a very good leadoff hitter. He I think it was 2 years ago where he had the best batting average in the league. Granted, he was suspended for PEDs, something like that. But regardless, he's still a good hitter, but he's not there anymore. Some names that are still on the roster that they've attracted my attention is first baseman Justin Bour. He had 25 home runs last year, and he had posted a 902 OPS. So he can still get the job done. I expect him to do pretty well against Hendricks and Darvish because he is pretty good against right-handed pitchers, and we know how Hendricks and Darvish struggles against right-handers. So we'll see how that goes. But some other names that have caught my attention, some players that aren't as well known but had a pretty good spring training. Derek Dietrich, he didn't do a whole lot last year. He had a 758 OPS for 13 home runs. And I'm not sure if it's just a fluke of what happened this spring training, but he had 4 home runs and he posted a 1.1 OPS. So he had a monster spring training. We'll see if that carries over. I really don't know. Lewis Brinson, he had he posted 951 OPS, and he only played about 24 games last year, so he has a pretty small sample size. We'll see how that goes. Lewis Brinson, he was actually with the Brewers last year, so we'll see how he plays with Miami. And then another one is Brian Anderson. He had 4 home runs during spring training and posted 965 OPS. And once again, spring training really may not mean much at all. We know that, but it's just these are numbers that they've caught my attention because if they post those numbers, that's something to be aware of. And of course, Starlin Castro, the OG Spanish Cub, love that guy. We'll see how he does. So they do have talent. It's just whether or not they could correlate that to the regular season.
Yeah, and you guys are absolutely right. Each point you guys touched on. And when I look at this series, I say a sweep. I mean, there's really no question. Nothing really speaks out to me. There's no reason we can't go against the minor league based lineup and take W's. I think if there is one game I would be worried about, I would say it might be opening day. Just the fact of wondering how well Lester is going to be coming out the gate. Lester, I feel like, is a horse, and he has to, really get in the grind of every 5 days and get some innings in him to get the horse working. But, I mean, these guys are going to come out swinging, I think. I don't know about you guys, Mark. Mark, tell me what your projections are this series.
Obviously, I would love a sweep, but I think that we're going to have probably one game out of the 4 that we just kind of let get away from us. Maybe it'll be Lester that lets it go, or maybe our bullpen will struggle. Who knows? But I think we'll take 3. My guess would be 3, and that's fine. That's obviously a good start. I could see us sweeping them, but I would say I'd be fine with as long as we don't split. If we split, that's a disappointing start. Obviously, it's only the opening weekend, but if you look at our first couple opponents, I mean, this is a good opportunity. I know that it's on the road, but there's no reason why we shouldn't take a lot of the first games that we're playing here.
We could go back to Wrigley 8-2, and I would be absolutely okay with that. Any Cubs fan would. I mean, if you walk out of Miami 3-1 to start the season, you got to feel good. Ryan, tell me what your projections are this series.
Look, we're all homers here, but how can we not sweep this series? Baseball's a weird game, I get it, but the Marlins are in full rebuild mode. Unless Starlin Castro turns into Giancarlo Stanton of last year, I'm not too worried about the Cubs in this series, guys. My brain is telling me we should win 3 out of 4 with no problem, but my heart's telling me we're going to sweep. So
yeah, I'm in the same boat as you are. I mean, maybe that's just the inner Cubs fan in me, excited to get this season rolling. High hopes for this season again. It feels like the vibe is we're back to the hunger. These guys want it. Cubs fans want it. So, I mean, the sweep isn't out of the question. I think if you walk out of Miami 3-1, I think you're sitting pretty good. Now, any starters for the Marlins that could give us a little trouble? I know for me, I think their opening starter is looking pretty good. That Jose Arena guy, I think he's pretty solid. And I think the Cubs, they strike out a lot. We have a young team who likes to hit a lot of homers. And I think guys like Happ or Baez or, those type of guys and Schwarber who strike out a lot, I think that they could struggle a little bit on opening day. But Cubs Twitter will be ranting, oh my God, this is a bust, yada yada yada. We all know how that works. But I think if there is one starter in this rotation for Miami to give us a little trouble, it might be opening day. And obviously I don't want that, but let's be realistic here. We are going to see some adversity in this opening series, I would think, unless we come out in 2016 like we did and just start off with a bang, which every Cubs fan would be okay with it. Ryan, any starters in this Miami rotation that kind of give you a little trouble or that give us a little trouble or you're looking at to be okay, like pretty decent versus this Cubs team?
I agree. I think Urania is probably their best. But, I mean, Caleb Smith, Despaigne, and Peters, they're all young. I mean, they're young. They haven't pitched that much in the league. I mean, I truly don't see the Cubs having too many problems with this entire pitching staff. Even the bullpen in Miami is not very good as well. So, I mean, maybe Urania, but I do think Urania is wild, and I think as long as the Cubs are patient, the Cubs are going to knock him out early in the game, getting to a bad bullpen of Miami. So I truly see this. I think the Cubs are going to score a lot of runs in this series. No issue at all.
Mark, anything? Any pitchers?
I would say Urania just because of the fact that it's opening day, and I could see a lot of our young hitters like Happ, Schwarber, even Contreras. Javi, any of them really just trying to swing for the fences and just getting out of their shoes a little bit. I think that might happen regardless of who we're going against, and I think they'll figure that out come the second or third time around the order. But I think that we could get into some trouble if we have too many people trying to be heroes right off the bat, which is understandable. I mean, it's been a long off season. We want to show that we're ready to go, and we're not trying to hit singles and doubles. We're trying to hit balls into the Gulf of Mexico, whatever. So that would make sense to me if that would happen. I think it would happen with Urania, but I'm really not too worried about it.
Yeah, and you mentioned Contreras kind of, wanting to set that tone. And let's talk about Contreras a little bit. Contreras is a guy last year, if you guys remember, on opening night versus St. Louis in Busch Stadium, he hit a ninth-inning game-tying 3-run homer, and he was the first Cub to hit a homer. So before we talk about projected lineups, who are your guys' picks to hit the first home run for the Cubs? I know mine. I'm just going to go straight out. I think Willson Contreras does it again. Coming off the spring he has, everything about him, the passion for the game, the swagger he has at the plate. I think we might see a first bat flip from him on the Cubs. Mark, I guess I'll ask you, who hits the first home run for the Cubs, are you thinking?
I have to go Ian Happ. And I don't necessarily think that he's going to start the season with the home run. It's just he is seeing the ball so well. He's hitting it so far. It might be his first time up, it might be second or third, but I think he'll be the first one to hit the home run for the Cubs.
I mean, Ian Happ has 7 home runs this spring. I mean, the guy has just shown out. He came into spring training wanting that center field, that leadoff spot, and he has showed up big time. Now, Ryan, looking at this lineup, man, you got 5-6 hitters who can obviously easily hit 20-plus homers, but who gets that first one on maybe opening day, the second game, third game? Talk to me a little bit, my man.
I am going with future MVP Kyle Schwarber. Okay.
Ooh, my guy. Okay.
I think Kyle Schwarber is going to have a massive opening series, guys. And I think that, he said it. He wants to be the league MVP. So I think he's going to start off beautifully this series against Miami. This bodes really well for him.
Yeah, absolutely. I love Kyle Schwarber. I think he has a lot to prove this season. I think that the sky's the limit for that type of bat. And I think we're going to see a really good Kyle Schwarber in 2018. I mean, he's lost the weight. Like we say, the knee brace is off. The defense is going to get better, and everything else just seems like it's going to be clicking. Now, let's talk a little bit about lineups for the series. I think this is my projection on opening day. We're going to see Ian Happ starting off, leading off. Madden confirmed that in center field, followed by Chris Bryant playing third, Anthony Rizzo at first, Willson Contreras in the cleanup spot playing catcher. Then we're going to see left field Kyle Schwarber, the new and improved slimmed down version. Then shortstop Addison Russell has that locked down. Right field Jason Hayward playing second base, Javier Baez batting 8th, and John Lester and the pitching role in the 9th spot. But I could also see Madden toying with possible sliding Lester in that 8th spot and either Russell or Baez batting 9th. Madden has done that before. Madden's a really interesting guy when it comes to lineups. He never really has a set one. I know back in 2016 we had Dexter Fowler, who would set the tone each game, you go, we go type deal. But Madden is a guy who likes to switch it up matchup by matchup. And it'll be interesting to see a lineup with 5 guys who hit 20-plus homers to start off the game for any pitcher. And for any pitcher, guys, I guess I'll go Ryan. What's your projection for the opening day lineup for the Cubs?
That's the exact same lineup I had slotted out here. The thing is, guys, I'm still concerned about Jason Hayward. I don't want to be. I tell myself this every single day. I'm like, he's going to hit this year. He's going to have a big season. But my goodness, I look at that and him in the 7th spot. I'm just like, is this an automatic out? Is this a rollover, ground out to the second baseman again, double play because Addison just got a base hit and, Jay Hay's grounded in double play. I mean, I'm almost wondering if it would be better to put the pitcher right behind Jay Hay and then let Baez restart things again if need be. I don't know what your thoughts are on that.
I mean, there's options with this Cubs team, and that could be obviously be one. Now, Mark, you got to talk to me, my man. Are there any changes for you in the lineup, or is it kind of looking the same?
I think that's the lineup that we're going to see. I think that's going to be the order too. I think that 1 through 5, I think that's the order set in stone. And then 6 through 9, you can get a little creative. Like you said, you could put the pitcher in the 8th spot. You could move Hayward around. You can move Baez around, even Addison Russell. You can move them around, but 1 through 5, that's going to stay. I think that should be set in stone, that order right there. And then 6 through 9, I'll see it swapping out. we all know how I feel about Jason Hayward. I like the guy. It's just that he can't hit, and it breaks my heart. But
Yes.
I don't know how patient are we going to be? Are we going to be patient with him and let him just keep on maybe getting a hit every game, maybe one, maybe every couple games? I don't know. There's no power there. Then it brings up, what do we do with Zobrist and Almora? Because that's some talent that's on the bench. I just don't know.
Well, that was my next question. Who's the first man off the bench? And you mentioned guys like Almora and Zobrist who are maybe going to get the sit on opening day. And if Happ and Jay Hay are playing, it has to be Almora, I think. I mean, this guy can absolutely rake. And you've seen him in 2017 know his role, coming off the bench and being ready each time he has been called on. He came up clutch a few times in the postseason as well, defensively, making some great catches, offensively as well. So, I mean, for me, the first man off the bench has to be Almora. I know, Mark, are you agreeing, or are you going kind of like Zobrist, kind of situational guy for situational hitting?
It all depends on when the subs are happening. I think that Almora should be the first one off the bench, and then when it's like a late game situation, it should be Zobrist, because I think Zobrist has that clutch gene. I think it's, 8th inning, 9th inning, we need that hit. You put Zobrist in there because he's proven himself time and time again.
Okay.
And then say the Cubs are up 8 runs, something like that. You could just put in whoever. Then the third guy up would be Tommy LaSella. That's what I would say. Yeah. So my order would be Almora, Zobrist, LaSella.
Okay, yeah, and I think I would agree with that. Ryan, who's your guy coming off the bench?
Yeah, defensively, it's Almora, first guy off every single time. I think Schwarber's going to have – I think he's going to have a better year defensively, but Almora's your late-inning defensive guy. Hitting-wise, I'm telling you, Almora is probably my first guy off when it's a left-handed pitcher. When it's a right-handed pitcher, guys, I love Ben Zobrist as a person and a player, but I think right now I take Tommy LaStella. If a right-handed pitcher's on the mound, I'm taking LaStella in there in a situation where I need a hit. I love Zobrist, but
he's old. He's getting old. He's getting up there, and he's depressing. He's decreasing his ability to play, and injuries are coming along with it. So, I mean, absolutely. And I don't know if you guys know this, but Anthony Rizzo last season, maybe this is a guy who covers Cubs 24/7 on Cubs Live, watching every single game, putting out some content each day. But if you watch Anthony Rizzo hit last year, it was frustrating a little bit. I know where he's consistent. He hits bombs. You know what you're getting out of Anthony Rizzo. But if you dig deeper a little bit, there were times where he could have knocked in a few or moved a couple guys over, but he hit into a lot of double plays last year. Actually, the most he's ever hit in, he hit 21 double plays. The last high for him was 13. So hopefully, if Chris Bryant gets on or Ian Happ gets on, we won't see him, because defenses like to play that shift versus him, where the shortstop or the second baseman is halfway in right field. So, I mean, hopefully he can adjust to that a little bit, because it was depressing a little bit watching him ground into a few double plays. But that's something to look into in 2018, going forward, to see if that does carry over to 2018, because I feel like that can be a problem in his play a game or moving runners over and everything else. But he's too good of a hitter to let that affect him in the long run. But maybe that's just diving in a little bit more. Now let's talk about spring training a little bit. Like I said, spring training is over for the Cubs, and the focus is on the regular season. They finished 19-14-3, which Joe Maddon said that this has been a really great spring training, and he wouldn't do anything different. With the success guys like Schwarber, Happ, Russell, and Contreras have had this spring, those stats go out of the question, and everyone starts fresh. But I see these guys coming into the season re-energized and pick up where they left off, and they are that good that they can do that. I mean, I think we could see another 2016 Cubs team coming hot off the gates, like I've been saying, and being that team to beat. Now, Mark, will individual spring training success continue now that the spring training is over and the regular season gets going? Or, talk to me how the Cubs come off the bat.
I personally think that it will. I think that the success will carry over. I really do. And we've seen it before where somebody's been very successful in spring training, like Chris Bryant in 2015, when he was just mashing the ball and he was doing so well. And then he started in the minors, and then he came up, and his first game, four strikeouts for his debut. I mean, he came out and he was just flat. But I think a lot of that has to do with the lack of experience. Now, if you look at the guys who are doing really well, Schwarber, Happ, Contreras, they all have at least well, other than Hap, they all have a season under the belt. Hap has most of the season under the belt. So they know what the show is like. They know what it's going to be like, and they know what to expect on opening day. So that's why I expect them to keep on doing well. I expect Rizzo and Bryant to do what Rizzo and Bryant do. And I'm really not worried about, they're, peaking too early, doing too much in spring training. I think during this Miami series, we might see a game or two where they post 10 runs. I really do.
Yeah, absolutely. It kind of feels like that 2016 where they're going to tack on runs. They're going to, really beat up some pitching early on. And it's crazy that you say guys like Ian Happ weren't on the, 2016 World Series roster. He hasn't played a full season yet in the major leagues. And something that may surprise you, Kyle Schwarber hasn't either. 2015, he came up. 2016, he had the ACL injury, and last season it was a disappointing start. Gets sent to the minors for about a week or two. He comes back up, so he hasn't even played a full major league year. So this season, he's going to have to really understand who he is as a player and get in that grind as well. Now, Ryan, talk to me a little bit about how that, are these guys going to be struggling? Who's going to be struggling? Who's going to be hot? Are they going to be coming off hot or cold? Talk to me a little bit, my man.
So spring training is good for baseball nerds like us and fringe players. The guys are going to be dialed in for the regular season. They have no pressure coming into the season, unlike last year. They had just come off the greatest World Series of all time, and they come off 108 years without winning one. I mean, the goal now for the Cubs is to dethrone the Dodgers as the best team in the NL and dethrone the Astros as the best team in baseball. I think the biggest takeaway from spring training is that the Cubs are healthy. The Cubs are healthy through bullpen-wise, starting staff, and the entire lineup. I think that's the biggest thing. These guys are ready to roll.
Absolutely. Like we said, spring training now 2 days away. Spring training, or the regular season 2 days away. Spring training is done. And now we go on to Miami to start the grind of 162 and to get back into October and being that frontline team in the NL. Now, we're going to see Miami. We're going to see a rebuilding team, but we're also going to see Starlin Castro. And Starlin Castro for the Cubs since debuting in 2010, he was kind of like the future in Chicago back when Theo Epstein and stuff started going. He was really the guy to be excited about, with the Cubs, 281 average, 321 on base percentage. He had 62 homers. That type of guy was really class. And I think I gained a lot of respect for the guy. Not that I didn't have it already, but back in 2015, when guys like, Russell were coming up, Castro got benched and moved over to he got moved over to second as time went on. And I think he took it like a pro, and I gained a lot of respect out of him. And now that he bounced around with the Yankees, and now I was rooting for him last year in the Yankees to go all the way because I wanted to see. Now, when the Cubs were out, I wanted to see, Castro get that ring because I felt like he should have got it with the Cubs. He was with them for a long time. He goes to Miami, and now we're playing him the first week. Mark, talk to me about Starlin Castro. What did he mean to the Cubs? What, how did Cubs fans perceive him? How did you perceive him? Because I look at him, and he was a vital piece in our rebuild, and we have had a lot of fun times with Castro, and it sucks because you love the guy. It's just baseball's a business, and sometimes you have to close doors and open a new one, and that's what the Cubs did with Castro. Mark, talk to me about Starlin Castro.
Well, one thing that you said that really got my attention was when last year when he was playing for the Yankees. I don't hate the Yankees, but I've never really cheered for them in my life. But a part of me was really wanting Castro to get a ring. Because I don't know if he should have gotten Adam Warren's ring in 2016, but he should have gotten that ring in 2016 because Starlin Castro, he played a really big role he was like that bridge player from those really bad teams. Well, from the last good teams back 2007, 2008 to 2015. He was in the middle there. He was through all of the bad years. All the bad years, he was the chosen one. He was supposed to be the next big thing, and he was a really good player. And I really hope he has some good karma coming his way because I think he deserves it because he was about to be a part of something special in the Yankees, and then he just got shipped to Miami, and now they're being rebuilt. Someone's got to free Castro because I think that he deserves to be a part of a winning franchise because he's been a part of so many rebuilding, and then he gets to where they're almost there, and then he goes somewhere else. So I love the guy. I wish him nothing but the best, and I hope he gets a ring someday.
And I think every Cubs fan wants that for him. He deserves it. Like you said, Adam Warren got a ring and Castro didn't. So that's something that mind boggles a lot of Cubs fans. We wish that Starlin Castro, we wish the best for him. We wish the best for his future. We love the time he spent in Chicago. And I know, Ryan, you're 3 blocks from Wrigley. You have season tickets. You've been there for Castro when he was a young guy after he got shipped out. What did he mean to you in this team?
You cannot help but feel bad for Starlin. I mean, like Mark just alluded to, I mean, Starlin was with the Cubs all the garbage years of this rebuild. And then right when the Cubs get one series away from the World Series, they trade him to the Yanks. He goes to the Yankees. Yankees were in a rebuilding mode, but got there quicker than most thought. He gets 1 series away from the World Series. They trade him to a team that's probably going to be worse than the Cubs was when the Cubs were rebuilding. I have to say, if Miami wants some PR on this, Miami, all they need to do is play Ando en la Versace, which is Starlin's walk-up song that just gets the crowd going. It's going to be majority Cub fans in Miami. So if you want to get that electric noise going in that stadium, play this song. They should do that every single game. And also, let's hope that Anthony Rizzo pays for Starlin's dinner every night he's in Miami. I mean, it's the only right thing to do there.
Yeah, Starlin Castro and Anthony Rizzo for a few years there were really the 2 pieces in Cubs baseball that you should be excited about. And they have a special bond. Their families are close and everything else. And like we said, we hope nothing but the best for Starlin Castro because of what he had to go through with the Yankees and being a part of something special. And now that they got Stanton, they shipped Castro to Miami. And it kind of feels like Castro has gotten, some crappy start, end of the stick. But okay, so now let's fast forward a little bit. So the Cubs, 2 days away, like we said, from the opening day. We're excited about it. Everybody else, our listeners, our followers, you feel that sense of, here we go again. Let's start it up. And now, we have a starting pitching core that one of the top 3 in the majors. I think the only 3 that may be better in the Nationals and the Astros. We have Lester, Hendricks, Darvish, Quintana, Chatwood, and having 5 guys like that it speaks volume to where you are as an organization and really the staff you have. Now, the expectations out of the bullpen, you hope each guy can get 200 innings. I think you're going to see Madden, not have a short leash with Hendricks like he has in the past. And I think that I'm going to go out on a limb and say it. If there's one Cy Young for this team, it could be Yu Darvish. Yu Darvish has looked really good this spring. He has nasty stuff. He's coming over to a Cubs team where he feels really comfortable. And when he was on the Rangers, he said a lot of, he didn't like some of the rules they had. And you're coming to a Cubs team with Joe Madden as the manager, one of the coolest guys in baseball who lets players be themselves. And I think that this rotation is better on paper than the 2016 season and way better than the 2017 at the start. You had guys like Brett Anderson in the 2017 role. So, and John Lackey, who's a dick baller and gives up so many home runs. So, I mean, this staff, I can't speak enough about it, and I think you're going to see really good Yu Darvish come over here. And aside from what happened in the playoffs, the World Series, he was really good in the playoffs actually up until the World Series. But I think this staff is going to be really good, and I think that Yu Darvish might win NL Cy Young along with Jose Quintana. He's one of the sleepers too, and Tyler Chatwood as well. All these guys that I keep on talking about, they're really good. And Tyler Chatwood is kind of like a Hendricks who works ground ball. He's a ground ball pitcher, gets a lot of weak contact. So I mean, if he can work with Jim Hickey and kind of form into a third type of pitcher, but actually in our 5th spot, I think you're looking at a really good staff. Mark, talk to me a little bit, my man. Darvish, Quintana, Lester, Hendricks, Chatwood. What are you looking like in this, rotation that the Cubs have?
I remember when we traded for Jose Quintana last year, I remember waking up to that message because I would get the Cubs tweets sent to my phone. And I remember I literally screamed in my bed and I was freaking out because I didn't know who we dealt. I didn't know what was happening. I was texting my buddy who's a huge White Sox fan, and I was trying to figure out what was going on, and I was losing my mind because even when Quintana was on the White Sox, which I'm not a Sox fan, North Side Pride is what I'm all about. But when he was on the White Sox, I was following him, and I was a huge fan of Quintana. So his sale in Quintana, I felt like he was always slept on, and I feel like that's how it is in Chicago. He's somehow the 4th pitcher in the rotation for the Cubs, And if I had to pick a pitcher that I think can really surprise some people and be a Cy Young candidate, I think it's going to be Jose Quintana. I think that all of the pitchers on the Cubs have the ability to, and Hendricks, Darvish, and Lester have already proven themselves to be on that top tier. And I think Quintana is, if he's not there, he's next. I think that he belongs in any conversation you have with elite pitching, and I think he's really going to prove himself this year.
Absolutely. I cannot argue with that. You know, Quintana, for me as a fan watching Quintana work on the bump, you know, it's really special. And the guy is straight nasty, you know, quietly too, because he doesn't get a lot of mainstream love, but the guy's good. The guy has really great stuff, and it's a pleasure watching him. Now, Ryan, what are you thinking about this staff? I know we're good, but who are you excited about in this rotation?
So same. I mean, Quintana, obviously, super excited about. I think for all the reasons Mark has stated. Darvish, obvious reasons. I mean, the big flashy signing, and Darvish is just so fun to watch in general. Lester's going to have a bounce back season. He had one of his worst seasons last year of his career, and he always bounces back. And I feel that way about Johnny. Kyle's going to be Kyle, but I'm most excited about this kid from Colorado, Tyler Chatwood. I'm telling you guys, I think he could be better than Jason Hamill was in 2016 for the Cubs. Hamill that season went 15-10. He had a solid 3.83 ERA, but I think Chatwood is actually better than that this year. I think he gets more wins. I think he has a better ERA. I think this entire team behind Chatwood is just going to make him so comfortable. The kid just has the best season of his entire career this year.
Yeah, I think so too. You know, he's coming over to a really good Cubs offense to give him that extra step. And I know he pitched in Colorado, and, you know, there might be some effects in Wrigley Field with the wind blowing in, but it won't be like Colorado where the ball's just flying out every single day. You know, he's going to have, you know, karma. He's going to have, you know, his good days, off days. The weather at Wrigley is a really tricky thing. So the talk around this Cubs team is their pitching staff as well as their hitters, because we're not one-sided like the Brewers are. They're heavy offense. They have a good offense. They have no pitching. And I think when you go down to October and October baseball and you go down the stretch for that hunt in October, I think, you know, pitching is what's going to win games. And obviously the Cubs have it, and we're excited. I know Cubs Nation is excited to see what this staff can do. And I'm excited on Saturday to see what Yu Darvish can do. I know I don't have any plans. I'm not making any plans. My plans are to sit in front of that TV and watch Yu Darvish work in a Cubs uniform. And if he gives up 5 runs, which I don't think it happened, I'm just going to take it in, dude. I'm going to see what he has, because I know he's not going to be bad. I think he's going to be really good. But obviously, you know, there might be some excitement and, you know, see how that works out. But Yu Darvish is going to be really good. I'm excited to see him. Quintana as well. We know what Hendricks does. We know what Lester does. Hopefully he'll have a bounce-back year. And obviously Tyler Chatwood is an underrated 5th starter in the rotation. Now, I am going to go to some tweets. You know, obviously we tweet out every time we do a podcast. This is our 2nd episode. Any questions our followers have. Now, Austin at ADELCHY25, he tweeted us Cubs MVP predictions, and I think it's going to be Wilson Contreras. I'm a huge Willie guy. I think he's going to take the MLB by storm this year. Mark, quickly, just give me a Cubs MVP prediction that we're going to see and a little background on it.
I think Contreras for sure, because he was last year before he hurt his hamstring. I think Contreras, absolutely, he is, I said in the last episode, he might be a MVP candidate himself. He's just going to keep on getting better. I love that guy. He's amazing.
Absolutely. He's going to take the MLB by storm. I was looking at some bold predictions, and they said by the end of the 2018 season, where players rank after the 2018 season, he's going to be 25 spots ahead of Buster Posey. So that speaks volume. Now, Ryan, tell me, Cubs MLB MVP prediction? What do you got?
The great Schwarbino, Kyle Schwarber, guys. I mean, I'm going to ride the Schwarber train his entire career. So I think Schwarber wins an MVP this year.
I would love that too. You know, Schwarber bombs in the Allegheny River when we go to Pittsburgh. Nothing gets me more hyped than that. All right, now Jason Onia, I don't know if I'm saying that right. I'm not good with last names, but he tweeted to us, some predictions as the MVP, the World Series. He wants us to predict the World Series, and I think he had Cubs Yankees, and I think he's spot on. I think we're going to see a Cubs and Yankees World Series. I would love that. Two historic franchises going at it. We got Stanton, we got Judge versus Anthony Rizzo, Chris Bryant. Nothing gets me more excited about two core stars going right at it, full force, and I'm, dude, the World Series, that's way above, where I'm thinking right now. I'm just looking forward to opening day, but Cubs-Yankees could really happen. Two good offenses. Mark, tell me, what's your World Series predictions?
I'm going to say, obviously the Cubs, because I feel like I'd get let go of this position if I said anything other than the Cubs out of the National League. But I think the Red Sox might surprise some people this year. They have won the division the last couple of years, and they've choked in the playoffs. But I think it's finally time that Chris Sale can show up when he needs to. And I think the team is ready to put it together. And JD Martinez is a huge signing they got. And I think that he's going to have a massive year. I think David Price could put it together as well. I think that this might be the year that the Red Sox get back in the series.
Who knows? Baseball is a weird game. Anything can happen. And I think if you do see the Red Sox in the World Series, it's going to heavily depend on David Price in the, postseason, because he is absolutely horrible in the postseason. Now, Ryan, World Series, what do you got?
I like both of your predictions. I think the Yankees and Red Sox are both in the playoffs. But I'm going back to a familiar foe in the World Series for the Chicago Cubs and the Cleveland Indians. I think the Indians are going to bounce back in a big way this year again. They were in the playoffs. They had that series against the Yankees until they just ultimately collapsed, like the 2016 World Series. I think the Indians are back. I think that the Cubs-Indians play each other once again, and the Cubs in 4. So
Cubs in 4. You sound like the Dom Frederick. I think everybody on the Twitter world loves that guy. He has so much electricity. He brings the Cubs Twitter, and that guy's amazing. And like we said, October baseball is a silly thing. You see in the Royals with really no expectations get in there in 2014 and 2015. You saw the Cubs do the impossible. They won 3 straight games being down 3-1. So anything October can happen, and I would love to see either matchup you guys just mentioned. Now, I think we're going to wrap things up. We're just days away from opening day. I'm excited. Mark, I know you are. Ryan, I know you are. Cubs Live as a whole is excited, and all of our followers as well are. And I think we're ready to get things going. 162 games, looking to get that push in October. And, man, the season's just days ahead of us. Like we said, this is our second episode of the Cubs Live podcast. I want to thank everybody for listening. Ryan, Mark, along with me, 2 great writers for the website, can't speak volume to what they do and the content they bring for the website. So, guys, I appreciate you guys as always, and it's always fun. It's always a blast. Now, you can follow us at Cubs_Live on Twitter. Subscribe to us. Subscribe to our tweets, because we're pushing Cubs 24/7. Blogs, tweets, content, videos, pictures. It does not matter. We want to provide the best and most up-to-date notifications for you guys to get your daily dose of Cubs coverage. So appreciate you guys, and as always, we'll be back in the following week, or next week, or in a few days. But obviously, opening day, the big talk, a few days away. Mark, Ryan, appreciate you guys on here, and go Cubs.
Get ready to fly the W.
Appreciate you guys.